I just need to check my balance.
Just my balance.
My name is Marcus Wellington III, and I am, or was, one of the wealthiest men in America. Net worth, $4.7 billion. Owner of Wellington Financial Group. A name that opened doors, commanded respect, and intimidated competitors. But 3 months ago, a child, a small, dirty boy in torn clothes, walked into my bank and said 7 words that would destroy everything I thought I knew about power, about wealth, and about who really controls the money in this world. I only need to view my balance. I laughed at him. The security guards laughed. Even the tellers smirked behind their hands. Until the computer screen loaded. Until we saw the number. Until we realized that this homeless-looking child had more money in his account than I had made in my entire life. What happened in the next 10 minutes didn't just humble me. It exposed a secret so dangerous that 3 people have already died trying to reveal it. And now that I know the truth, I might be next. If you're just starting this story, hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you think you know about wealth, power, and the children that society ignores. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there, because this story gets darker with every single minute. Let me take you back to that Tuesday morning in September, 3 months ago. It was supposed to be a perfect day. I'd just closed a deal that netted my firm $340 million. The Wall Street Journal was running a profile on me titled The King of Mergers. My wife, Victoria, had texted me a photo of our new yacht being delivered to our private dock in the Hamptons. Life was exactly as it should be. At 11 a.m., I decided to visit the flagship branch of Wellington Bank, one of 17 banks I owned across the country. It was on 5th Avenue in Manhattan, a monument to wealth with its marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the kind of quiet that only extreme money can buy. I walked in unannounced, as I sometimes did. I liked to see how my employees performed when they didn't know the owner was watching. The branch manager, Thomas Ashford, spotted me immediately and rushed over, his face flushed with a mixture of excitement and panic. "Mr. Wellington, what an honor. We weren't expecting you today. Is there anything?" "Just observing, Thomas. Pretend I'm not here." "Of course, sir. Of course." I stood near the VIP banking section, watching the flow of clients. Wealthy individuals being ushered into private rooms, business owners depositing large checks, the machinery of money moving smoothly, efficiently, beautifully. That's when the doors opened and he walked in. A boy, maybe 10 or 11 years old, though he was so small he could have passed for 8. His skin was dark, covered in a layer of grime that suggested he hadn't bathed in days. His clothes were torn, an oversized t-shirt that hung off his thin frame and pants that were more holes than fabric. No shoes. His feet were dirty and calloused. He walked up to the main counter with a confidence that seemed absurd given his appearance. The security guard, a large man named Rodriguez, immediately moved toward him. "Hey, kid, you can't be in here. This isn't a shelter." The boy looked up at Rodriguez calmly. "I'm a customer. I need to check my balance." Rodriguez snorted. "A customer? Kid, this is Wellington Bank. Our minimum deposit requirement is $50,000. Now come on, let's go before I have to call social services." "I have an account here," the boy insisted. "Account number 84729 Trust. I just need to view my balance." I was watching this unfold with mild amusement. It wasn't uncommon for homeless people or troubled kids to wander into the bank. Usually they were looking for a warm place to sit or a bathroom. This kid's story about having an account was creative, at least. Thomas Ashford walked over, his expression annoyed. "What's the problem here?" "Kid says he has an account," Rodriguez explained. "I'm about to escort him out." "I do have an account," the boy said, his voice rising slightly. "I have the passbook. Look." From his torn pocket, he pulled out a small, dirty booklet. It was so worn and stained I couldn't imagine it was real. Thomas took it, clearly just humoring the child before sending him away. He opened it, glanced at the first page, and his face went completely white. "What is it?" I asked, moving closer. Thomas looked at me, then at the boy, then back at me. "Sir, I think we should take this to a private office." "Why? What does it say?" Thomas leaned in and whispered, "Sir, this passbook shows an account number that matches our system, and the name on the account is unusual." "What name?" "It just says the trust, and there's a note that says beneficiary, bearer of this book." I frowned. "That's not how our accounts work. It must be a fake." "That's what I thought, but the account number has the correct format. The only way to know for sure is to look it up in the system." By now, several other employees and a few customers were watching. The boy stood there calmly, seemingly unbothered by the attention. "Fine," I said. "Let's verify it and send him on his way." "Thomas, pull up the account." We moved to the nearest terminal. Thomas logged in with trembling fingers and entered the account number, 847.29 Trust. The screen loaded, and that's when everything changed. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button right now and tell me in the comments if you've ever been judged based on your appearance. This is just the beginning of the shock. The number that appeared on the screen made no sense. My brain couldn't process it at first. $847 billion. $847 billion. That's a system error, I said immediately. That can't be right. Refresh it. Thomas refreshed. The number didn't change. Rodriguez leaned over to look and gasped. Is that billion with a B? It must be a glitch, Thomas insisted, but his voice was shaking. No one has that much money in a single account. That's more than some countries' GDP. I grabbed the mouse and started clicking through the account details myself. Transaction history. Account opening date. Authorized signers. The account had been opened in 1952. 71 years ago. The opening balance had been $1 million. And then, every single month for 71 years, deposits had been made. Automatic deposits. They started at $10 million per month, then $50 million, then $100 million. In recent years, the monthly deposits had been averaging $2 billion. The money came from hundreds of different sources. Shell corporations, offshore accounts, trusts within trusts within trusts. A labyrinth of financial structures so complex it would take a team of forensic accountants years to unravel. But there was one thing that was crystal clear. The account was real, the money was real, and according to the passbook system, the bearer of that little dirty booklet had full access to it. I looked at the boy, who was watching me with calm, dark eyes that seemed far too old for his face. "Who are you?" I asked. "My name is Samuel," he said quietly, "and I just need to view my balance. That's all I came for." "Where did you get this passbook?" "It was given to me." "By whom?" "By the people who take care of me." "What people? Your parents?" "I don't have parents. The people at the church. They said when I turned 11, I needed to come here and check the balance, to make sure it was still there." Thomas was frantically typing, pulling up more information. "Sir, there are notes in the system. Restrictions on the account. It says the balance can be viewed by the bearer, but withdrawals require," he scrolled down, "require authorization from something called the Council of 12. "The Council of what?" "That's what it says. And there's a phone number. A contact number for inquiries." "Call it," I ordered. Thomas dialed. The phone rang 3 times. Then a voice answered, old, male, with an accent I couldn't quite place. "Wellington Bank, 5th Avenue branch. You are calling regarding account 84729 Trust, I presume?" Thomas nearly dropped the phone. "Yes. How did you?" "We've been expecting this call. Young Samuel has reached his 11th birthday. He was instructed to verify the account. Has he done so?" "Yes. But sir, who is this? What is this account? There's $847 billion. The amount is correct. Has Samuel been treated with respect?" I grabbed the phone from Thomas. "This is Marcus Wellington. I own this bank. I demand to know what's going on." The voice on the other end chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "Mr. Wellington. Yes, we know who you are. You own 17 banks. Net worth of $4.7 billion. Impressive. Though I should note that young Samuel's account represents approximately 180 times your total wealth. I trust you'll treat him accordingly." My hand was shaking. "Who are you?" "I am simply a trustee. One of 12. We manage the account on behalf of its true owners." "And who are the true owners?" "That, Mr. Wellington, is information you don't have clearance to know. All you need to understand is this. Samuel is checking his balance, as instructed. You will print out a statement showing the current balance. You will give it to him. You will treat him with the utmost courtesy. And you will forget this ever happened. Do I make myself clear? You can't just—" The line went dead. I stood there, phone in hand, my perfect day crumbling around me. A dirty child with no shoes had more money in my bank than I would see in 10 lifetimes. And somehow, that terrified me more than anything I'd ever experienced. Subscribe right now because what happens next will blow your mind. Tell me in the comments, who do you think really owns this money? The truth is stranger than you can imagine. I looked at Samuel, this small boy standing in my bank, and I realized I was afraid of him. Not of him personally, but of what he represented. A power structure I didn't understand. Money I couldn't trace. A system operating above my level. "Thomas, print the statement," I said quietly. "Sir, shouldn't we?" "Print it. Now." Thomas printed out a simple balance statement. Current balance, $847,294,673,219.47. He handed it to Samuel with trembling hands. Samuel folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. "Thank you," he said politely. "That's all I needed." He turned to leave. "Wait," I said. "Samuel, please. I need to understand. Where do you live? Who takes care of you?" He looked at me with those ancient eyes. I live lots of places. Different people take care of different kids. We move around. Different kids? There are more of you? Of course, 12 of us. We each have accounts. We each turn 11 and have to check. That's the rule. My blood went cold. 12 children. Each with accounts like this? I don't know about their accounts. Just mine. But yes, 12 of us. If each child had a similar amount, that was over $10 trillion. Held by children. Controlled by some mysterious council. Samuel, who are these people? The council? What do they want? They don't want anything from me. They just say to check the balance every year until I'm 18. Then I'll understand everything. Understand what? Where the money came from. Why we have it. What we're supposed to do with it. He started walking toward the door again. Rodriguez stepped aside without being asked, his usual bravado completely gone. I followed Samuel out onto Fifth Avenue. The busy Manhattan street seemed surreal after what I'd just witnessed. Samuel, wait, please. I can help you. If you're living in shelters, if you need anything. I have everything I need, Mr. Wellington. More than I need. But you're dressed in rags. You're dirty. You have no shoes. He smiled, a sad, knowing smile. Money isn't the same as care, sir. You should know that. You have billions and you're still scared. Still empty. I can see it in your face. The words hit me like a physical blow. This child, this 11-year-old, had just read me better than my therapist, my wife, or my closest friends ever had. How do you know that? Because all the rich people who see me have the same look. Like they're hungry for something they can never eat. Money doesn't fill that hole, Mr. Wellington. It just makes it bigger. A black SUV pulled up to the curb. The windows were tinted. The license plate was blank. That's my ride, Samuel said. Goodbye, Mr. Wellington. Thank you for your help today. Wait, who's in that car? Where are they taking you? The back door opened. I couldn't see inside. The interior was too dark. Samuel climbed in, and the door closed. The SUV drove away, leaving me standing on the sidewalk outside my own bank, feeling smaller than I'd ever felt in my entire life. Tell me in the comments right now, what would you do if you met Samuel? Hit that like button if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat. This is where things get dangerous. I went back inside the bank in a daze. Thomas and the other employees were standing in a tight cluster, whispering urgently. Sir, what do we do? Thomas asked. Do we report this? That account. It's not properly documented. The amount is insane. The regulatory authorities. We do nothing, I said firmly. We forget this happened. We delete any logs or records of today's inquiry. Now. But sir, that's... I said now, Thomas. They scrambled to comply, but I knew it was already too late. Once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. Once you know that kind of money exists, controlled by children, managed by some shadowy council, you can't just forget. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my $10,000 mattress in my $28 million penthouse, and all I could think about was Samuel's torn clothes and calm eyes. At 3 a.m., I got up and went to my home office. I started researching. The Council of 12 returned nothing useful, just references to various historical groups and conspiracy theories. I searched for large trusts established in the 1950s. Thousands of results. Nothing specific. I called my head of security, a former FBI agent named Marcus Donovan. I told him everything. Jesus Christ, he breathed when I finished. Marcus, you need to walk away from this. Now. I can't. There's $10 trillion moving through the financial system and nobody knows about it. How is that possible? If it's been hidden this long, it's hidden for a reason. People with that kind of money don't leave loose ends. You start asking questions, you become a loose end. I own banks, Marcus. I have connections. I can be careful. Famous last words. But I couldn't let it go. Over the next week, I quietly reached out to contacts. Federal Reserve officials, Treasury Department connections, people who should know if that much money existed. And that's when I discovered something terrifying. They did know. A deputy secretary at Treasury, a man named Gerald Hoffman who I'd known for 15 years, agreed to meet me for coffee. Gerald, I need to ask you about something sensitive. If this is about those kids' accounts, Marcus, stop right now. I felt my stomach drop. You know about them? Gerald looked around nervously. Of course we know. Treasury, the Fed, the SEC, we all know. We've known since the beginning. Since 1952. And you've just allowed it? We don't have a choice. Marcus, those accounts are protected at the highest levels. Presidential level. The money is legally held. Properly registered with the international banking system. But it's untouchable. Unauditable. Any attempt to investigate it gets shut down before it starts. Why? What's the money for? Gerald leaned in close. Nobody knows. But there are theories. Some people think it's a hedge fund for a shadow government. Others think it's ransom money, protection payments to prevent some catastrophic event. The most common theory is that it's money collected from unofficial sources, black budgets, drug cartels, arms dealers, human trafficking. All the dark money in the world, funneled into these accounts. And the children? Are innocent holders. Clean. If the money was in the name of adult trustees, it could be traced to criminal enterprises. But children, born into the system? They're untouchable. By the time they turn 18 and gain full control, they've been so thoroughly indoctrinated that they'll never betray the system. That's insane. That's power, Marcus. Real power. The kind that makes your billions look like pocket change. Gerald stood up to leave. Do yourself a favor. Forget you ever met that kid. Forget the account exists. And whatever you do, don't try to find the counsel. People who go looking for them tend to disappear. People have disappeared? 3 journalists in the last decade. 2 federal investigators. An IRS auditor. All gone. All were asking questions about accounts like Samuel's. Take the hint. He walked away, leaving me with my cold coffee and a growing sense of dread. Subscribe right now because what I discovered next got someone killed. Drop a comment telling me if you'd keep investigating or walk away. This story is about to get deadly. I should have listened to Gerald. I should have walked away. Instead, I became obsessed. I hired 3 different private investigation firms to dig into the trust accounts. I used every contact, every favor owed, every connection I'd built over 30 years in finance. And slowly, pieces started coming together. The 12 children weren't random. They were all born in the same year, 11 years ago. They were all from different countries originally but had been brought to the United States as infants. They all lived in different cities, moved frequently, and were cared for by rotating guardians connected to various religious organizations and charities. None of them had legal parents. All were technically wards of private foundations with names like Global Children's Trust and International Youth Foundation. The money in their accounts came from a network of shell corporations so complex it would take decades to untangle. But the investigators found patterns. Deposits that correlated with major geopolitical events, large sums appearing after coups in developing nations, transfers that matched timing with drug seizures or arms deals gone wrong. The money was dirty. All of it. Trillions of dollars from every black market operation, every corrupt government deal, every criminal enterprise that needed to launder money. And these children were the cleaning mechanism. By the time they turned 18 and gained full control, the money would be 7 years further removed from its sources. Clean, untraceable. Ready to be deployed for whatever purpose the council intended. I was compiling my findings into a document when my secretary buzzed my office. Mr. Wellington, there's a man here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. He says his name is Marcus Donovan, my head of security, but I hadn't summoned him. Send him in. Marcus walked in, but something was wrong. His face was bruised. His jacket was torn. There was blood on his collar. Marcus, what the hell? They came for me this morning, he said, closing the door behind him. 3 men, professional. They told me to give you a message. Who were they? They didn't say. But they knew everything, Marcus. Everything you've been investigating. Every PI you hired. Every contact you've called. They know. He pulled an envelope from his jacket and placed it on my desk. It was sealed with red wax, an old-fashioned touch that seemed deliberately theatrical. They said to give you this. And they said if you don't stop, the next message will be delivered to your wife. My blood went cold. They threatened Victoria? Not just threatened. They showed me photos. Victoria at her yoga class. Your daughter at her private school. Your mother at the assisted living facility. They have access to everyone you love. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a handwritten message. Mr. Wellington. Your curiosity is noted and understood. However, your investigation ends now. The accounts you've discovered serve a purpose beyond your comprehension. They maintain a balance that keeps the world from tearing itself apart. You are a wealthy man. Enjoy your wealth. Enjoy your family. Do not throw it all away for knowledge that will only bring you suffering. This is your only warning. The council. Beneath the signature was a photograph. It showed me, taken from a distance, standing outside Wellington Bank the day Samuel had visited. Someone had been watching, recording, documenting. They're serious, Marcus, Donovan said. I've seen this kind of thing before. These aren't street thugs. These are professionals working for people who have unlimited resources. What do? You stop. You delete everything. You tell your investigators to close their files. You forget this ever happened. And if I don't? Donovan's face was grim. Then I quit. Because I'm not going to watch your family get hurt when you have a choice. That night, I sat in my office until 4 a.m., staring at the months of investigation I'd compiled. Names, dates, transfers, patterns, all leading to the unmistakable conclusion that the world's dark money was being laundered through 12 children who didn't even know what they were part of. I thought about Samuel. About his calm eyes. About what would happen to him when he turned 18 and learned the truth about his wealth. Would he become a monster? A criminal? Or would he do something good with it? And what gave anyone the right to make that choice for him? At 4:15 a.m., my office door opened. I hadn't heard anyone come in. A man stood in the doorway. Elderly, perhaps 70, with silver hair and a face that had seen too much. He wore an expensive suit and carried himself with the quiet authority of someone who'd never had to raise his voice to be obeyed. "Mr. Wellington," he said calmly, "I'm disappointed you didn't heed our warning. Tell me in the comments, what would you do in Marcus's position? Subscribe right now because the next part reveals everything. This confrontation changes everything." I stood up, my hand moving toward the panic button under my desk. "I wouldn't do that," the man said. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you understand." "Understand what? That you're laundering trillions through children? That you're threatening my family?" "Sit down, Mr. Wellington. Please, this conversation is long overdue." Something in his tone made me obey. He sat across from me, crossing his legs with the casual ease of someone who knew he held all the power. "My name is not important. I am one of the 12 trustees of the council. I've held this position for 42 years. Before me, my predecessor held it for 38. This system has been operating since 1952, and it will continue long after we're both dead. Why children? Why, Samuel? Because children are innocent. They can't be prosecuted. They can't be held accountable for crimes they didn't commit. By the time they're adults, the statute of limitations will have expired on the money's origins. It's perfect legal protection. It's exploitation. It's survival." The man leaned forward. "Mr. Wellington, do you know how much dark money flows through the world economy every year? $3 to $5 trillion. Drug cartels, arms dealers, human trafficking, corrupt governments, criminal enterprises. That money exists whether we like it or not. So you steal it, we redirect it. Every dollar in those accounts was seized, intercepted, or confiscated from people who were using it for evil. We take money from the cartels that poison communities, from the arms dealers who fuel wars, from the human traffickers who destroy lives, and we hold it. For what purpose? For the day it's needed. Mr. Wellington, the world is always 3 bad decisions away from total collapse. Economic catastrophe, nuclear war, pandemic, climate disaster. When that day comes, and it will come, this money will be used to rebuild, to save lives, to prevent complete chaos. That's insane. You can't just... We already do. The 2008 financial crisis? Billions from these accounts were quietly injected into the system to prevent total collapse. The Ebola outbreak in West Africa? We funded the response. The earthquake in Haiti? Reconstruction money came from us. Natural disasters, terrorist attacks, political instabilities. We're there, quietly, keeping the world from falling apart. I couldn't process what I was hearing. And the children? Samuel? Samuel and the others are being raised by people who will teach them what money really means. Not the luxury your class associates with wealth, but responsibility. By the time they're 18, they'll understand the burden they carry. They'll use this money not for themselves, but for humanity. You're choosing 12 people to control trillions? To decide how the world should work. Better 12 people raised with purpose than millions of people using that money to kill, exploit, and destroy. The man stood. You have a choice to make, Mr. Wellington. You can accept what I've told you, destroy your investigation, and live your life. Or you can continue asking questions, and we'll be forced to remove you from the equation. Remove me? Not kill you. We're not monsters. But we'll destroy your reputation, your business, your marriage. Within 6 months, you'll be a cautionary tale. The billionaire who went mad with paranoia and lost everything. Is your curiosity worth that? I thought about Victoria, about my daughter Emily, who was about to start college, about my mother in her assisted living facility, who told everyone how proud she was of her son. I thought about Samuel's calm eyes and the burden he would carry for the rest of his life. How do I know you're telling the truth? I asked. How do I know this isn't just a cover story for something worse? The man pulled out a tablet and placed it on my desk. He tapped the screen, and I saw surveillance footage, dozens of feeds, real-time monitoring of what looked like humanitarian operations around the world. Medical clinics in Congo, food distribution in Yemen, refugee camps in Syria, schools being built in Bangladesh. This is where the money goes, Mr. Wellington. Not into our pockets. Into the world. Anonymously. Quietly. Saving lives while people like you argue about tax rates and stock portfolios. He picked up the tablet. You have 24 hours to make your decision. Delete the investigation or face the consequences. Choose wisely. He walked out of my office, leaving me sitting in the darkness, my entire worldview shattered. Subscribe right now because what I decided to do will surprise you. Comment below, would you expose the truth or protect your family? The ending will leave you speechless. For 23 hours and 45 minutes, I sat with that decision. I called my investigators and told them to close their files. I deleted my research. I destroyed every piece of evidence I'd compiled. But I kept one thing. A single photograph of Samuel, taken by a security camera the day he'd walked into my bank. That photograph sat on my desk as I wrote this account, the story you're hearing now. Not for publication. Not for the authorities. Just for myself. A record of the day I learned that my billions meant nothing compared to the real power in the world. At the 24-hour mark exactly, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Wellington. Have you made your decision? I'm done investigating. I'll keep silent. A wise choice. Your family will remain safe. Your business will continue to thrive. And you'll sleep better at night knowing the truth rather than living in ignorance. Wait, I said. I need to ask one more thing. Samuel. Will he be okay? When he learns the truth about his money, will he be able to carry that burden? There was a pause. Samuel is stronger than you think. As are the others. They were chosen for their capacity for empathy, for their ability to see beyond themselves. They will do what needs to be done. And if they choose differently, if they decide to use the money for themselves, then we failed. And the world will suffer the consequences of our failure. But we don't believe we failed. These children give us hope that the next generation will be better than ours. The line went dead. I never saw Samuel again. I never heard from the council again. Life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after learning what I'd learned. But everything was different. 3 weeks after my encounter with the council, Victoria and I were having dinner at Le Bernardin. A $800 meal that tasted like ash in my mouth. As we left the restaurant, I saw him, Samuel, standing on the corner of 51st and 6th Avenue. Still in torn clothes. Still barefoot, but this time, he was handing out sandwiches to homeless people from a bag. Our eyes met across the street. He nodded slightly, a gesture of recognition, of understanding. Then he went back to his work, feeding people who had nothing while carrying billions they would never know about. And I understood. Finally, truly understood. Samuel wasn't poor. He was free. Free from the burden of obvious wealth. Free from the corruption that money brings. Free to do good without anyone knowing or expecting anything in return. I, with my billions and my empire, was the poor one. Tell me in the comments, did Marcus make the right choice? Hit that subscribe button because the epilogue reveals what happened next. It's been 6 months since I met Samuel. 6 months since my world was turned upside down. I haven't told Victoria the full story. I haven't told anyone except in this recording, which I've kept hidden and encrypted on a drive that will be released only upon my death. But I have changed. Wellington Financial Group now donates 40% of its profits to anonymous charitable foundations. I've quietly restructured my banks to offer free accounts and services to low-income communities. I've started housing programs for homeless youth. My peers think I've lost my mind. Wellington's gone soft, they say at the club. Must be a midlife crisis. Let them think what they want. Last week, I was walking through Central Park when I saw another child. A little girl, maybe 12 years old, with similar worn clothes and that same calm, ancient look in her eyes. She was sitting on a bench, feeding pigeons. I sat down next to her. Beautiful day, I said. Yes, sir, she replied politely. I met someone like you once. A boy named Samuel. She turned to look at me, and I saw recognition in her eyes. Samuel is my friend. He told me about you. He said you were kind when it mattered. I tried to be. That's all anyone can do. Try to be kind when it matters. She stood up, dusting breadcrumbs from her clothes. Goodbye, Mr. Wellington. Keep being kind. She walked away, disappearing into the crowd of park visitors, and I sat there, a billionaire on a park bench, watching pigeons and wondering what the world would look like when these 12 children came of age. Would they save us? Or would they become what we'd always been, humans corrupted by wealth and power? I don't know the answer, but I have hope, more hope than I've had in years. Because I've seen Samuel handing out sandwiches. I've seen this little girl feeding pigeons. I've seen children who have everything choosing to live as if they have nothing. And that gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, the next generation will be better than we were. This recording you're listening to, this story I've told you, was released because I'm dead. If you're hearing this, then I didn't make it to see what happened when those 12 children turned 18. But I need you to know something. The council is real. The money is real. The children are real. And when they come of age, when they take control of trillions of dollars, the world will change. For better or for worse, I cannot say. But I want you to remember Samuel. Remember his calm eyes. Remember his torn clothes and bare feet. Remember that he had more money than most nations and chose to give sandwiches to homeless people. Remember that wealth is not what's in your bank account. Wealth is what you do with what you have. I was once the third richest man in America. I had everything money could buy. But a small dirty boy taught me that I had nothing at all. My name was Marcus Wellington III. I died worth $4.7 billion. But Samuel, with his torn clothes and his ancient eyes, was infinitely richer than I ever was. Remember him. And when you see a child who looks like they have nothing, remember, They might be carrying the weight of the world in their pockets, choosing poverty over corruption, choosing kindness over comfort. We could all learn from them. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying until the very end. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. And also what you learned from this story.